Dryad riddle, sign cap S. Sierra. Home, heading, play, button, play. Home, back, Dryad riddle, show stats, but Luna guides you through the winding streets towards the village's only school building. I'm so excited to see my old school, Luna declares as she flutters around your head. I had so much fun here. They taught me to fly and glow and balance a spoon on my nose and fold origami dinosaurs and pull a cloth off a table without anything breaking, ellipsis, you know, the important stuff. Eventually you approach an old stone building with ivy climbing up the walls and a large bell tower at its peak. Children of every mythical race you can imagine are all playing in the schoolyard. For a while you just stand there and are entertained with sights of two young gnome girls using a basilisk as a skipping rope and a dwarf teacher yelling very angrily at one of the troll children to put him down right now or the troll will be in detention till the end of the school year. Next, button. Is this a human girl I see before me? You hear a voice speak up behind you and turn to see an elderly centaur with a braided gray beard and barely any hair left on his head looking down on you. Why, I haven't seen a human in years. Get here through Willow's portal, did you? Well, good luck getting back is all I can say. The last human who made it here was bumbling his way around the village for about a month and I don't even know what happened to him after that. This news does not fill you with a great deal of confidence. Luckily the school bell rings at that moment, distracting you from pondering what unfortunate fate might have befallen the poor man. Ah, class is about to start, announces the centaur. Well, since you're here, I suppose you should come along with me. I'm Mr. Stonehuff, professor of English here at the Academy of Mythical Creatures. Page 2 of 3, top of... No. This news does not fill you with a great deal of confidence. Luckily the school bell rings at that moment, distracting you from pondering what unfortunate fate might have befallen the poor man. Ah, class is about to start, announces the centaur. Well, since you're here, I suppose you should come along with me. I'm Mr. Stonehuff, professor of English here at the Academy of Mythical Creatures. I trust you speak English? If not, we do have a very friendly tentacle monster teaching a Japanese class right now. No, English is fine, you quickly assure him. Then follow me. With that, Mr. Stonehuff leads you into the school and through a series of winding corridors until you finally reach a classroom full of young mythical beings about your own age, all talking and playing amongst themselves and throwing paper phoenixes around, one of which hits a harpy girl in the back of the head and immediately catches fire, causing her to scream in panic until she manages to pat it out. Next, button. Alright, settle down children, settle down, Mr. Stonehuff says, causing all his students to rush to their seats. Now in case any of you haven't noticed, we have a new student with us today. The centaur introduces you as he ushers you to the front of the class. What was your name, girl? Ah, ellipsis, Chloe sir, you reply. Chloe, ellipsis, Chloe. Strange names you humans have, the old centaur mutters before addressing the class once more. Well, Chloe here has joined us all the way from the human world, so I want you all to be on your best behavior. And nobody tease a poor creature if she turns out to be a complete moron, most humans usually are. This causes a faint chuckle across the classroom as you take the only empty seat in the class while Luna hovers around beside you, sticking her tongue out at any children laughing at your expense. Next, button. Alright everyone, let's start with a quick revision exercise, Mr. Stonehuff declares, the alphabet. Does everybody here know the alphabet? Yes, Mr. Stonehuff, you hear the other students drone in unison. Oh, me, Luna calls out excitedly, waving her hand in the air. This is going to be so easy, she then whispers to you. Well, let's see how much you remember. Fern, can you tell me the first letter in the alphabet? Mr. Stonehuff asks, directing his question to a young gnome near the back of the class. Sir, the boy answers, and Mr. Stonehuff nods his approval. Very good boy. Now Ivy, what is the second letter in the alphabet? The teacher asks a sprite girl sitting on your left. The girl takes a moment to think before giving an answer. Is it L, sir? You have to hold back a snicker when you hear the girl's answer, but to your surprise, Mr. Stonehuff seems quite happy with it. Yes, L. Well done, smart girl. This leaves you looking baffled until the centaur turns his attention to you. Now Chloe, do you know the third letter in the alphabet? Solve the riddle, radio button. Next, button. What is the answer? Text field. Double tap to edit. Use the rotor to access misspelled word in text field. Is editing. Insertion point at end. Cap F. Cap A. Cap P. Cap space. Go. Mr. Stonehuff claps his hands together at your answer. Yes, very well done human. The third letter of the word alphabet is P. You'd be shocked how many humans get that wrong. It's refreshing to see an intelligent young mortal like you that can think outside the box. So now we know that you know the alphabet, let's find out how well you speak alphabet. You stare at your centaur teacher in utter confusion. I don't understand what you mean, sir. The language, Mr. Stonehuff says as if that should explain everything. When you do not respond he seems surprised. Ellipsis, you know, alphabet language. Letters, numbers. Please tell me they at least teach you basic alphabet in those human schools. You shake your head at this, causing Mr. Stonehuff to sigh and rub his temples in frustration. Alright, not to worry, it's the easiest language to learn, I'm sure you'll pick it up soon enough. You just need a demonstration. With that, your teacher's eyes scan the classroom until they settle on two fawn children, one male and one female, sitting next to each other. Elsie, Juan, you both speak fluent alphabet, don't you? Well, come up to the front, I want you both to have a conversation and Miss Chloe here can translate. While the fawn children move to stand in front of the class, Mr. Stonehuff explains what he expects you to do. Now you listen carefully to everything that Elsie and Juan say. Repeat everything out loud if you have trouble understanding it. Once they've finished, I'll ask you a question to see how much you understand. Next, button. With that brief explanation out of the way, the two fawns begin their conversation and surely enough, they both actually start communicating with the alphabet. LOLC, says Juan. I am AP 2 degrees Celsius U1, says Elsie. Are you okay 2D? Asks Juan. SIM, 10Q, replies Elsie. A 1, UCND 2D? She asks. NDSL 2D. Why? Juan asks. KTZNTSAQT, Elsie says excitedly with a little giggle. NDZES2BC 2 degrees Celsius KT, Juan tells her. Oh, okay. 10Q1, Elsie says regretfully, and with that the two fawns both return to their seats. All right, I hope you pay close attention, Mr. Stonehuff tells you. Now remember, this is a translation, so I'd like you to answer the question in English rather than in alphabet. Do you understand? You nod your head, but you doubt you'll understand the actual question itself. Very good, now answer me this human. According to what Elsie and Juan just said, ellipsis, which of their classmates has a crush on a boy called Andy? Solve the riddle, radio button. Eaten, next, button, what is the answer? Text field. Double tap, text field. Insertion point at end, cap F. Cap C. Cap select cap L, cap K. Cap R. T Y U I O P A. A P O I U Y T. Y U I U Y T R E. E. Dictate, space, go. Mr. Stonehuff nods his head in approval. Very good, human. Very, very good. I'm impressed how quickly you picked up the language. Then again, it is an extremely easy language to learn. It is after all simply the English language spoken in the form of letters and numbers. Now I think a full translation is in order before we move on, to make sure you understood the whole thing. LOLC, said Juan, of course meaning, hello Elsie. I am AP 2 degrees Celsius U1, said Elsie, I am happy to see you Juan. Are you okay 2D? Asked Juan, meaning, are you okay today? Yes I am, 10Q, or, yes I am thank you, replied Elsie. Then she asked, a 1, you see Andy 2D? Meaning, hey Juan, you see Andy today? Juan said, Andy SL2D. Why? Which means, Andy is ill today. Why? Then Elsie announced that, KTZNTSAQT, or, Katie said Andy is a cutie. NDZES2BC 2 degrees Celsius KT, said Juan, meaning, Andy said he is too busy to see Katie. Disappointed, Elsie said, oh, okay. 10Q1, which of course means, oh, okay. Thank you Juan. And the conversation ended there. Next, button. So, from that we can all understand that little Katie the jackalope is quite taken with Andy the Walberdinger. Unfortunately he's clearly not interested, so poor Katie will have to find somebody else to pass love notes to under the desk. Sorry dear, better luck next time. With that, the whole classroom erupts with laughter as they start to torment the poor rabbit-like creature with antelope horns who is hiding her head in shame. Katie and Andy sitting in a tree, KISSING. First comes love, then comes marriage, then comes a baby in a ellipsis. The children's chanting is cut short when Mr. Stonehuff interrupts them. Now children, do not be so ridiculous. You should all know better. He objects, quite crossly. Ellipsis, jackalopes breed like mad. There would be at least 12 babies in that carriage. With this, the children all mutter their agreement and modify the song to put 12 babies in the baby carriage until little Katie loses her temper and, with her extremely sharp teeth, latches onto the tail of a manticore boy that was tormenting her. The manticore then proceeds to run around the classroom, waving his tail around frantically and wailing in pain as he tries to shake the jackalope off. Mr. Stonehuff sighs and shakes his head. Leo, what have I told you about provoking jackalopes? Their teeth are razor sharp, you know. I'm surprised she hasn't bitten your tail clean off. Go on, to the nurse with you. That said, the poor manticore heads out of the classroom sobbing quietly to himself with Katie still attached to his tail. Next, button. Now, with that out of the way, I think we have time for one more exercise before your next class. Saying that, the old centaur moves to pick up a piece of chalk and starts to write away on a large chalkboard. I'm going to write down a paragraph for you, and I want you all to figure out what's special about it. Mr. Stonehuff then proceeds to write the following paragraph down on the chalkboard. First you should know that this is a most unusual paragraph. How quickly can you find out what is so unusual about it? It looks so ordinary, you would think nothing was wrong with it, and in fact, nothing is wrong with it. It is unusual though, but why? Look at it, study it, think about it, and you may find out. This is not a trick, in truth it is actually straightforward. Try to work it out on your own and soon it will dawn on you. What is missing from this paragraph? Good luck. Once he has finished writing, Mr. Stonehuff gives you all a couple of minutes to solve the riddle, radio button. Next, button. What is the answer? Text field. Double text field. Insertion point at end. Cap S. Sierra, cap S. Cap R. Cap E. Cap E. Dictate, spec, go. When once again you produce the right answer, Mr. Stonehuff gives a little chuckle of surprise. Well girl, you've done it again, and I must say I'm impressed. Most humans cannot think outside their tiny boxes of sense and logic, but you can see things the way we do. Very well done indeed. Shortly after this is said, you hear the school bell ringing once more. Ah, is that the time already? Well, off you go children. Come on, off you go. It's time for maths class. Right now the rest of your classmates are all getting up to leave, and not knowing where to go, you simply follow the rest of them, trying your best not to get trodden underfoot by any trolls, golems or giants. Eventually your class comes to a stop and all seem to be staring intently at a tiny door at the bottom of the wall, far too small for you to fit through. This is explained when a pixie woman comes to open it. Ah, there you all are. I was wondering what was keeping you. Well, come on children, everybody come on in, your new teacher announces, opening the door wide. Some of the smaller, fairy-related creatures manage to fit through the door, along with a few mythical rodents and insects, but the rest of you just have to sit there in the corridor and observe the lesson through the open doorway. Even Luna flies inside, presumably forgetting that she's supposed to be helping you. Oh, you must be the new girl, your teacher says as she flutters out of the door to introduce herself. I'm Miss Merriweather. Very pleased to meet you. Your teacher then extends her hand towards you, presumably asking for a handshake, but your hands are so large in comparison to hers that when you awkwardly offer her your hand, she can only take hold of your smallest finger and, with what seems to be all her strength, very faintly shakes it up and down. Next button. Alright class, I hope you've all done your homework on in time. Now let's pick up where we left off last lesson. We'll start with a few quick additions and subtractions, Miss Merriweather says as she flutters back into her classroom so that you can only see her through the tiny door between the shoulders of several other students too big to fit in the room. Now, everyone together, what is 1 plus 1? 2. Your classmates all answer in unison. Very good. And what is 5, 2? Miss Merriweather asks. 3. The students all reply. Miss Merriweather nods her head. And what is 3 plus 4? 7. You reply along with the rest of the students. Well, at least this lesson is simple enough. That is, until you get to the next question. What is 9 plus 7? Miss Merriweather asks. You are about to answer 16, but stop yourself when you hear the rest of the students calling out 4. Very good children, Miss Merriweather assures them. Now what is 1, 1? 12. Your classmates reply. And what is 6, 8? The teacher asks. 10 is the unanimous answer. Right now you're completely lost and not even trying to answer the questions along with the other students. Unfortunately, the little pixie notices this. Human girl, I don't hear you answering, she scolds you. Everyone quiet down, let's let our friend answer this next question on her own. Now tell me dear, what is 10 plus 5? Solve the riddle, radio button. Next button. What is the text field? Double tap text field. Insertion point at end. Space, dictate emoji numbers. Left paren, semicolon, slash, hyphen, 0, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. 3, space, go. That's right, 3, Miss Merriweather announces with a smile, looking quite pleased with you. You are a bright girl. Your human school must be already taught you how to tell time. Of course, if it's 10 o'clock and you add 5 hours, that's 3 o'clock. Now let's try a number pattern. I'll write a series of numbers down on the board, and you see if you can tell me what's the next number in the pattern. The pixie struggles to lift the chalk, which is almost as large as she is, but eventually she's in the air and writing on the board. These are the numbers she writes. 31, 28/29, 31, 30, 31, underscore. The pixie struggles to lift 30, alright, hands up if solve the riddle, radio button, checked, 1, next button. What is the answer? Text field. Double tap, text field. Insertion point at end. Space, dictate emoji numbers. Right paren, left semicolon slash hyphen, left paren, semicolon slash hyphen 0, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. 0, space, go. Right again, Miss Merriweather says cheerfully. Of course you understand, the numbers are the days of the months in the year. 31 in January, 28 or 20. With that, your maths teacher erases the numbers she had written on the board and replaces them with a series of letters. OTTFFSSEN underscore. Cap O, space, cap T, space, cap T, space, cap F, space, cap F, space, cap S, space, cap S, space, cap E, space, cap N, space, underscore. Now, who here knows, what is the next letter in the sequence? Solve the riddle, radio button. Next button. What is the answer? Text field. Double tap, text field. Insertion point at end, cap T. Tango, cap T, space, go. Miss Merriweather claps her hands excitedly together when you answer the question. Yes, yes, T. She cheers happily. You figured out that the letters were numbers all by yourself. Of course the O is for 1, T for 2, the next T for 3, F for 4 and so on, until at the end you have T for 10. Just then, you hear the school bell ring once more, signifying that the lesson is over. Alright everyone, off to lunch with you all. Have fun. Mrs. Honeysuckle dismisses you all. Wow, all this riddle solving is hard work, Luna tells you. I think we've earned a nice, big lunch. Come on, she says before guiding you to the school canteen. Once you get there though, you suddenly feel considerably less hungry. While you're more used to seeing sandwiches, crisps and fruit as lunchtime snacks, the menu at this school contains a far less appetizing selection. Your choices include a tray full of grass, a basket full of raw fish, and what appears to be an assortment of live insects, very popular with the phoenixes and griffins. In the end you only take a glass of water and a bowl of assorted nuts and berries. Sitting down, you sort through your meager lunch, nervously tasting the few that you actually think might be edible and passing the rest to Luna, who seems happy to eat anything regardless of whether it might be poisonous or not. Next button. You're the human girl, aren't you? You hear a rather ominous voice and turn to see a tall boy with the tail and horns of a bull looming over you. Ah, a minotaur, Luna declares with excitement. Must be a Greek exchange student. Heard you're supposed to be really smart, the boy says with an angry scowl. Oh he is, says Elsie the fawn as she takes a seat opposite you. He answered all of Mr. Stonehuff's questions, and Mrs. Honeysuckle's too, Juan adds as he takes up a seat next to her. The minotaur scoffs quite cruelly at this. You're pulling my tail. No way a human could be smart. My dad says their brains are all mushy from sense and logic and rules and stuff. Her brain's not mushy. Luna objects on your behalf. Chloe is a special human. She knows how to think outside the box. What box? Asks the minotaur. I don't know, Luna admits. Mr. Stonehuff said something about it. I think most humans keep their brains in boxes, ellipsis, so they don't lose them I guess. Wow, Elsie exclaims in surprise, sounding quite impressed. I never would have thought of that, said Juan. Humans must be smarter than I thought if they take such good care of their brains. Next button. No way, insists the minotaur. I bet she's not so smart. She is, Luna yells, quite frustrated by now. Prove it then, the minotaur dares you as he sits himself down by your side. Here's a riddle that no dummy could solve. I know a word of letters 3. Add 2, solve the riddle. I know a word of letters 3. Add 2, and fewer there will be. Solve the riddle. Radio. At eaten. Next button. What is the answer? Text field. Double tap text field. Insertion point at end. Cap G. Golf. Cap F. Cap F. Fire. G. Golf. Y. T. R. E. Echo. E. W. W. Space. Go. The Minotaur leans his elbows on the table and looks very sulky. Yeah, that's right, he begrudgingly admits. Few is a 3-letter word, and if you add E and R, you get the word fewer. Sorry for calling you stupid, I guess. You're not so dumb after all. The bell rings once more and your classmates all get up out of their seats. Come on then, Elsie, the phone calls to you. You don't want to be late for our first ever tech class. You're quite surprised to hear that they would still have tech class in a fantasy school. You wouldn't have even thought they'd have computers. When you arrive at your next classroom though, you find that you were absolutely right. There are no computers at all. What you have instead is a cardboard box with a big black square colored in the middle to look like a screen. In front of this, you have what looks like a cereal box with numbers and letters drawn on to make it look like a keyboard. You sit down in front of this childish invention with absolutely no idea what you're expected to do with it. Good afternoon, class. You hear your newest teacher say, but when you turn to see him, you're in for quite a shock. What you see before you is a short, green creature with big black eyes and a long, pointed head. No way, you mutter under your breath. Is that an alien? Next button. It's nice to meet you all. I'm your new tech teacher. I'd introduce myself, but I'm afraid that speaking my name in my own language would cause all of your eardrums to burst. Now I'm sure you children must all be very excited for this class. Of course, all your other teachers are creatures of ancient mythology, still stuck in the dark ages of magic and mystery. But I'm here to change all that, your teacher says rather proudly. As a creature of science fiction, I felt it my duty to study the art of human science, and as you can see, I have faithfully recreated a modern miracle of human technology. Wow, the other humans all gasp in wonder as they stare intently at their cardboard computers. What does it do? Asks a little elven girl. Haven't the foggiest, your teacher replies. But humans seem to enjoy pressing those buttons a lot, he says, pointing to the cardboard keyboards. Now, I have a very simple exercise for you all. Using the buttons on these machines, I'd like you all to write something about yourself. Just something simple. Say for instance, your name, how old you are and your favorite color. Do you think you can all do that? Yes, sir. The other students reply enthusiastically and start pushing down at the letters on their cereal boxes and getting very frustrated when they don't seem to do anything. In the end, they all give up and just write down their assignments on paper. You do the same. Next button. Very good, children, very good, your teacher says as he starts collecting your work in. Oh dear, this doesn't look right, he comments as he takes the paper from a young Cyclops. Grom, you really need to get your eye tested, I can't make sense of this at all. Spotting you for the first time, the alien approaches, holding out the piece of paper. Oh good, a human. You'll know how these human contraptions work. Here, take a look at this paper and try to figure out what Grom is saying. I can't make heads or tails of it. What does he say his favorite color is? You have a look at the paper, but whatever Grom has written is impossible to read. For starters, the Cyclops' blurred vision means that he hasn't actually written on the lines of the paper, instead he's written above the lines and slightly to the left. That aside, the strange jumble of letters and numbers he's written do not make any sense at all. Y309J6HQJ3, not a thing about this makes sense, but somehow from all this mess, you have to figure out what Grom's favorite color is. So, ask Luna. Next button. What is the answer? Text field. Double tap insertion point at end. Cap Y. Cap U. Cap H. Cap O. Cap P. Cap P. T. Y. U. I. I. C. V. B. N. November. N. B. V. C. X. Z. Shift. L. K. K. Space. Go. The alien looks once more at the paper before seeming to realize something. Ah, I see now. Where poor Grom's vision isn't quite right, he's been accidentally pressing the wrong buttons on the keyboard. All the buttons he's pressed are above and slightly left of the keys he meant to press, so if he meant to type A, he would instead have typed Q and so forth. With this information, your teacher compares the piece of paper to the keyboard. So now we know all this. Y3009J6HQJ38WT49JK R QJ53R63Q4W90EKJ6RQF 974853 D90974AWAHIL becomes, hello, my name is Grom, I am 10 years old and my favorite color is pink. Is that right, Grom? The Cyclops nods his head. Pink is pretty, he replies. It certainly is, says your teacher. Once more, the school bell rings, signifying the end of that particularly short lesson. All right everyone, time to go home, the alien calls out, which gets Luna very excited. Yay, home time, she cheers happily. Can we go to the park and swing on the monkey bars on the way home? Please, 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 she begs you. Wait, no, we can't go home now, you insist. I haven't found the mushroom yet. Now remember everybody, this is the last day you can enter Mr. Stonehuff's crossword competition, so if you want a chance to win the Toadstool Trophy, you'll need to hand in your entries today, says the alien. Next button. Wait, Toadstool Trophy? You asked the teacher, suddenly feeling far more optimistic about your chances of leaving here with an enchanted mushroom. How do I enter? Well, you'd have to go and get the crossword from the library, then you fill it in and give it to Mr. Stonehuff, the alien tells you. Thank you, you call to the teacher before turning back to Luna. Where's the library? This way, thank you, this way, she declares happily and starts to fly off, forcing you to run at full speed just to catch up with her. As you run, Luna leads you through the Hey wait, you call after Luna, assuming she got distracted by something shiny and forgot where she was going. You're going the wrong way, right way, she insists and carries on flying. Eventually she stops next to a large, flowing water fountain. Here we are. You raise your eyebrow, assuming the wisp has made some kind of mistake. Luna, almost as soon as your hand hits the bell, a blue-haired mermaid appears from the fountain and peers at you through a pair of old-fashioned spectacles. Can I help you? She asks. Next button. You hesitate before finally asking, is this really the library? Where are all? Naturally, she tells you. When you take them on land, don't they all get dry? That doesn't make any sense. You insist. You humans, always trying to make sense of everything, she mutters, shaking her head. Now, is there yes actually, you tell her, I need the crossword for Mr. Stonehoof's competition. Are you sure you're smart enough to enter? The mermaid, how? You ask. Well done, she says sarcastically. 3 pairs? Yes, 3 pairs all back to back. Say for example, if quiz solve the riddle, radio, ask Luna for a hint, radio button, unchecked, 2 of 3. Eat a magic bean, radio button, next button. What is the answer? Text field. Double tap insertion point at end, cap D. Del, cap X. Cap C, cap V, cap B. Cap B. D. S, A, P, O. O. O, C. X, Z, Sh, L, K. K. K, T. R, E. 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 R. T, Y, U, I, O, P. Pop, P. Y. T, R, E. E, R. Rome, R. C. Charlie, C. Charlie. R. Space, go. Very clever human, the mermaid tells you. The answer is in fact me, bookkeeper, the only English word with 3 pairs of letters back to back. No, it's not. Luna objects. What about bookkeepers? Or bookkeeping? You add. Don't get smart with me, young lady, the mermaid tells you crossly. But you told her to be smart, Luna retorts. Oh very well, the bookkeeper grumbles to herself and swims down. You take the paper and, looking at it, next, button. Ellipsis, mumbles Luna. 5, the man that makes 7, 8, that's a crossword. Solve the riddle, radio button, checked. 1. Eat next, button. What is the answer? Text field. Double tap, text field. Insertion point at end, cap C. Cap N, cap M. Cap N, D. S, A. Alpha, A, D, X. X. C, V, B, N. N, E. R, T, Y, U, I. I, D. S, D, F. F, E. Echo. E, F. D, S. S, T. Tango, T, space, go. Completed crossword. PNG. Heading back to Mr. Stonehoof's classroom, you knock on the door and hand him the paper. I finished the crossword, Mr. Stonehoof, you tell him. Oh really? He asks. Well, don't feel until I am measured. I am not known, but how you will miss me when I have flown. That's time, of course. I can travel around the world. What belongs? If you name me, you will break me. The man that, when you take the whole away, some is still, the more, and finally, next button, next button. Toadstool trophy. PNG, image, belongs to you, but other than you do? Your name. Name me, you will break. And that makes a dozen. Man who buys a dozen. Insert all of these answers into the crossword and the letters going, hey, what about me? Luna, Mr. Stonehoof then seems to take notice of the wisp for the first time. Oh yes, I remember you. Luna, oh wow, look at the time. Luna declares, quickly changing the subject. Sorry, but we got to go. Come on Chloe, we're going to be late for ellipsis, you know, ellipsis, the thing. Ah, ellipsis, thank you very much Mr. Stonehoof, you tell the centaur, then quickly chase after Luna before you lose sight of her entirely. Next button. Map. PNG, image, on several pieces of homework. E, app switcher. Games folder. Freedom, status bar, 11, orientation lock, 54% battery pack, control center. Cellular Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, switch, media controls, playback, previous, playback destination. Low flashlight, switch selected, screen